Good evening and welcome to Asaase Business PM with me, Kevin Annan. I'm here with my co-host.
Rosemary, Balami.
Tonight on the SDG-Hub, we'll discuss the topic Greening the Ballot, Spotlight on the Ghana Environment Manifesto. And to discuss this, we have with us Mr. Jonathan Gokah, who is the coordinator at Kasa Initiative Ghana. Business PM is brought to you in partnership with the Center for Sustainable Transformation, CeST. Good evening once again. If you just tuned in, you're listening to our weekly SDG Hub run by the Center for Sustainable Transformation, CeST, here on Asaase Radio. I'm your host, Kevin Annan, once again, and as usual, I'm together with my co-host,
Rosemary, Balami.
From the Young Reporters for the Environment, Ghana, a program under CeST. As Ghana prepares to head to the polls later this year, a coalition of environmental non-profit organizations have been working hard at crafting a visionary document that seeks to revolutionize the way that environmental issues are addressed in this country. This manifesto isn't just another piece of paper, it's a bold call to action, a roadmap for sustainable development, and a testament to the power of collective action. Today we are diving into the world of environmental advocacy with a focus on the upcoming elections in Ghana and the groundbreaking Ghana Environment Manifesto.
Absolutely, Kevin. Together, we'll explore the genesis of the Ghana Environmental Manifesto, its core principles, and the pivotal role it's poised to play in shaping the future of Ghana's environmental policy landscape. We will discuss how this manifesto aims to bridge the gap between environmental conservation and electoral, politics, empowering citizens to demand accountability and action from their elected representatives.
That's right, Rose. And joining us in the studio once again is a passionate advocate and key figure of the coalition of non-profit organizations that drafted the Ghana Environmental Manifesto. He brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, and a burning desire to see Ghana's environmental concerns placed at the front and center of the political agenda of this country. And we are glad to be joined in the studio once again by Mr. Jonathan Gokah, who is a coordinator at Kasa Initiative Ghana. You're very welcome, Mr. Gokah.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here with us for the first time, and we'd like you to give us a brief introduction of yourself and what you do.
All right. So my name is Jonathan Gokah, and I coordinate and facilitate the activities of civil society organizations in natural resource and environment governance in Ghana. And the name is Kasa Initiative Ghana. So it's actually a platform, but not for a single organization. We have about 520 CSOs who have registered under our network, working in the areas of water, mining, oil and gas, fisheries, land, forestry, and those working in the area of oil. I mentioned oil and gas already. So and climate change and environment. So these are the areas within which we operate. And our main aim is to see sustainable actions within these sectors, taking into consideration the future generation that are coming behind us. What kind of policies are governing these spaces? How sustainable are they? So we undertake a lot of policy reviews and lobbying advocacy to make sure some of the issues in these spaces are well interrogated and they are sustainable in their implementation, so that our future generation will also benefit from what God has given us. So that is our aim as an organization.
That's a lot. We are once again very happy to have you here with us, because we're having someone with a wealth of knowledge to tell us more about this issue. So we're going to kick things off with my first question, which is, can you share with our listeners what inspired the creation of the Ghana Environmental Manifesto, especially considering the upcoming elections?
Sure. So we recognize that at every election, or where there is time for every election, a lot of issues are put on the table, and that's formed the basis for political parties to do their campaign. But we realize issues of environment and sustainable natural resource governance are left to the back burner. They don't become priority for electioneering issues, and especially even within the media space, we don't pay attention to the role of environment in sustaining our economies. We are so happy to be talking about our GDP, our whatever, the economic figures. But without our natural resources, and all those figures will come to nothing.
Yeah.
Our gold, our cocoa, and all those form the basis, and they all occur in our natural resource environment. So the kind of policies and activities that drive the sustainability of these commodities is very essential for sustaining our economy. So we want to see how basic environmental issues are well laid out in the party manifestos.
Yeah.
Because we realize when the parties come, they don't normally follow the national development plan as we have laid out as a country, but they pay more attention and commit more resources to meeting their manifesto promises that rather than the national development plan that we have. So we want to see how we can influence this space with some of the issues that we have tabled out, share with them, engage them, and explain how some of these issues can be well integrated into their party manifesto promises. So that is the basis for.
Right.
We did the first one in 2020,
Okay.
and we want to move a step further this year to see how well we can connect well with the parties, especially the manifesto drafting committees, in order to get our issues across.
Okay, so this manifesto was launched this year.
Yeah.
Okay, but it had been in the works for years.
Okay, not really. So every election year, the issues keep changing. The kind of things, the practices we see, the policies that govern the space changes. So like what we did last year was different. So this is a new thing we've done over a span of about since November last year up to this time that we launched it last week or something. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so this manifesto, is there a time span that it covers?
No, this is general,
general,
information to help the political parties, cluster their issues around some of the issues that we have identified.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'd like you to elaborate more on the key thematic areas that this environmental manifesto addresses.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm the facilitator and coordinator for the platforms or the networks. I mentioned we work in 7 thematic areas that I already outlined. So I am in the middle of all this to bring all these stakeholders in the non-profit space together to see how we can coordinate our advocacy and make sure the kind of suggestions or recommendations we give don't conflict. Because we believe the natural resource space is very well connected. What is happening in the forest sector affects the water sector, water provisioning issues. Water takes its course from the forest. So if you are destroying the forest by uninformed policies, you are destroying the water sources. So we believe those working in the water sector should also understand what is in the forest sector. Mining is done in the forest reserves. So the policies that are being churned out in the mining sector affect forest cover. So we need to be knowledgeable across board. So that is why we come together, learn and share from each other, and then understand the policies and the recommendations that we provide. So it's well coordinated. It sinks into providing that sustainability that we envisage to see. Okay. So as I mentioned, even issues in the fishery sector. What is happening in the mining sector affects our fishes, even in the oceans, because all our waters that are polluted goes into the sea. And you might be in Accra, you think what is happening in Western region in terms of illegal mining is not affecting you. But when the mercury travels in the river through the estuary into the sea, the fishes in the sea also consume this mercury. When they catch it at Jamestown and give it to us, we are also eating the mercury.
It's on our plate.
So we need to be concerned as citizens as to what happens across all this value chain.
Okay. So there are a host of environmental challenges here in Ghana, right? What are the main challenges that the manifesto aims to address? Are there any specific ones that you are looking at?
Okay, so I may not be able to speak to each of them one by one because there are experts that came together to develop this. I am just coordinating. I can just give a summary and overview of. But I told my sister that maybe when time permits, we invite the experts within each of these sectors to speak categorically to the 7 thematic areas.
We'd like that very much.
So issues about water, we mentioned issues of water compact that is sitting at the presidency that is supposed to bring some sanity into the watch sector. Water and hygiene issues, how to deal with it so that we can see some serenity in that space. They are all part of the recommendation. Illegal mining is top on the agenda because that issue is never coming to an end. The more we try, the government tries to push in a lot of resources to address the situation, the worst of the state of our water bodies we are seeing. And when it comes to the fishery sector, overfishing and use of illegal fishing materials to fish is a top concern. And folks across our coastline, how are they managing some of the waste issues that are bedeviling the space? So these are some of the critical issues that we will mention. When you take the forestry sector, we are talking about the rate at which our forest cover is being lost every year. And there is a saying that if the last tree dies, the last man dies. The forest is the source of our survival. So when we sit down and policies that promote cutting of our timber, and we don't interrogate them very well, at the end of the day we will all face the brunt. Issues of climate change are very much of a global issue now, and how is Ghana feeding into that process? There is some new tax that is called emissions tax that is also being implemented. We as civil society organizations are concerned. The monies that are being collected, into which areas are these revenues being invested? There are key climate change actions that need to be undertaken in terms of mitigation and adaptation. So we want some of the revenues from this emission tax, as is being collected, channeled into proper adaptation practices in order to bring some relief to those who are facing the brunt of climate change. If you go to the Keta area, you see the coastal erosion that is happening due to sea level rise and climate change. People are displaced. How are some of these revenues going to address the issues of such communities? So from top of my head, these are some of the critical issues that we want to see high on the agenda leading to the election season. And we want the media to be part of this process, because we believe when you understand some of these key issues, you are able to engage the politician and ask them some of these critical questions, what plans they have to support vulnerable communities.
All right. Moving on, what has been the initial reaction to the launch of the manifesto from the public and policymakers as well?
So I think it's been a very welcome initiative because all the stakeholders who were at the forum, it was chaired by the chairman for the National Development Planning Commission, who spoke highly of the initiative that these civil society organizations have put together, and commend us to be watchdogs over the political parties as to what they do when they come to power. We have some of our issues as indicators of such leadership. We mark them after every season or quarter to promote those that are indulging in good environmental practices. So it was a welcome idea. Other stakeholders, other organizations are calling us to come together and strengthen it and promote it strongly within the electioneering season. So I would say nobody has thought bad about it. They all think it's something that should be supported and broadened.
So at the launch, were some of these party folks also present?
Yes, some of the parties were there to listen to us, and they were all in support of what we have done. That to even serve as the basis for their environmental sections in their manifesto. CPP, Alpha Franto, Butterfly, NDC was there. CPP was there. They spoke highly of So they are all very welcoming, and they've said their doors are open for us to engage.
That's really great to hear. So, looking ahead to the elections, how do you envision this manifesto influencing the political landscape in Ghana? So it doesn't end up as just, another document somewhere, but then how do we make sure that this political party, heads actually adapt it and implement it?
All right, so we are, as I said, this is not the first time. We tried it in 2020 and we learned our lessons as to how to make this document more efficient and effective in our strategy. So this year, what we do is we realize that the media people are our friends when it comes to some of these things, and we need to bring the media along strongly. Last year, that wasn't the case, but this time, further engagement that have been planned include strong media engagement, and not only the journalists or the press people who come to the events, but we want the editors to be part of it. So there are workshops that have been outlined where the media will be brought on board to understand the issues very well, so that you can ask critical questions. And as I said, some of the issues become benchmarks for, we want to see it in the manifesto. And after that, we track implementation and give, marks openly at the end of, So these are things that we've planned to do after the launch of the manifesto.
So aside the media, do you also have plans to actually meet these political parties, sit down with them, and then, go over this policy recommendations?
Yes, of course. As I mentioned, the parties said their doors are open. It's up to us to go and knock on the door and engage whoever is in charge of their manifesto drafting, and we see how far they can incorporate some of these things that we have penciled down.
So, given the urgency of climate change, how does this manifesto propose to mitigate its impact and promote resilience in our communities?
I think I've already touched on some of the critical areas of concern when it comes to climate change. Sea level rise and coastal destruction is very, it's common. Everybody knows what is happening across our coastline. And climate change is playing a very critical role in destroying our beachfront.
Yeah.
When you go to the north, the rainfall patterns, they change. Now, people are not able to produce their crops all year round as they used to. So what are the adaptation practices that needs to be promoted in such areas so that our food security issues are not become so serious?
Yes.
So adaptation here means how do we continue to farm even in the face of dry weather conditions?
Yeah.
How are governments going to invest in alternative farming practices that ensures that our food security is assured in the future? So, these are key things for us to look at when it comes to climate change, because survival is key. If without food, we can't survive. So we need to secure our food chain, our food basket, our food producing areas, practicing adaptation practices that are...
and all that.
Yeah.
So, in the same... documents, the manifesto. In order for Ghana to reduce its carbon footprint, they've passed an emission levy. It's already, it's already in the system.
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate on the proposed review of the emissions levy and the adoption of this national cap and trade system?
All right. So we are not against taxes per se. We believe as a country we need taxes to develop.
Yeah.
But if we are taking taxes in the name of climate change, then we propose that revenues from such taxes should be channeled into proper adaptation practices, mitigation practices to reduce our carbon emissions and all that. So that is what they call the cap and trade that we are talking about. It's about people who pollute more pay more.
Okay.
It's about carbon emission. So if there is somebody who is not polluting it, why tax such a person?
Yeah.
Whilst maybe the big industries, the automobiles who are polluting a lot will be paying the same rate as you.
Yeah.
So we believe those who are polluting more should pay more. Very simple.
So you do agree it's not fair?
Yeah, it's not fair there. Yeah.
Right. So looking at the manifesto once again, specifically with oil, gas, and the energy sector commitments, right? It emphasizes the urgent need for diversifying Ghana's energy resources, particularly by increasing the renewable energy mix and efficiency by 50%. Now, how does it propose to achieve this target?
Well, so that is our recommendation, that there should be more investment in the renewable energy sector, because that is the way to go. Now, people are moving away from fossil fuel and investing in renewable energy. So renewable energy, for maybe the layman, is talking about investment in solar, talking about wind energy and other forms of energy generation that is devoid of crude. So that we are able to scale up such interventions so that the person in the rural community doesn't have to be dependent on crude oil for its energy needs. So in the energy mix of Ghana, we want renewable energy to go up to 50%. So it is about Ghana using the revenues from our crude oil now to invest in building renewable energy infrastructure in order to meet that 50% target. So that is the approach we want. We are not stopping any our crude oil exploration now.
No, so it's a gradual
process, but the revenue should be used to invest in the renewable energy sector. Yeah.
So you would agree the renewable energy sector is less than even 50% now?
Oh, very, very low.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, the manifesto, advocates for anchoring the presidential compact for WASH. That is water, sanitation, and hygiene at the presidential level to increase government's commitment in addressing, WASH inequalities. How will this shift in governance structure enhance the implementation of, national compact for WASH?
All right, so the National Compact for WASH is already sitting at the presidency. All we need to do is at the ministerial level, but we want it pushed to the presidency to get that kind of attention. And, it calls for revenue to be released for the compact to be implemented.
Okay.
It contains a set of actions that will go to bring, let me say, equilibrium in the area of water and hygiene, looking at the rural-urban divide, a set of activities that will be undertaken in order to relieve vulnerable communities, especially who don't have access to water. So by water, we are talking about sanitation, improvement in water and sanitation services, and availability of water to those who don't have it, and all that. So it's a compact that is sitting at the ministry, and it's not getting the kind of resources it needs to start implementation.
So it now has to be pushed to the presidency level in order
to get that kind of attention. Yeah.
There's also the highlight of the need to move the national focus from basic services to is it safely managed? WASH. Could you please elaborate on that?
So that's very simple. It's not about just availability of water, but safe water.
Okay.
That is what we mean. So it's not just about going to dig a borehole.
Yeah.
So the water should be safe for the community's use.
Okay. Great.
All right, excellent point. So shifting gears, right? Community engagement is vital for the success of any environmental initiative. One of the most critical things, advocacy. And how does this manifesto plan to involve and empower local communities in the decision-making process?
All right, so as I mentioned, the Kasa and its partners is not just one organization. We have different civil society organizations working at different levels across for national level, regional level, district level, community level. So we bring everybody on board. So if you look at the CSOs who signed this document, about 120 of them. Wow. So we believe we need to circulate this document amongst ourselves to inform the kind of engagement that we even do at the community level, because we believe the politics starts from there. When people are promising them everything at the community level, the electorate should be informed about some of these issues we have in the manifesto and ask critical questions. How are they addressing it as part of their activities going forth when they win power? So we have our members in the communities who are also part of this process. So I mentioned that when we say in the area of mining, we say now that the government says they are doing community mining. How different is community mining from what has been happening? Those questions should come on board. How are they being governed? Who are those involved in the community mining? Are they not the same Galamsey people, or these are different set of people who are doing the mining? And what are the effects or the negative effects of the community mining vis-a-vis the illegal mining? So we need to be educated and well informed when the politicians come for us to ask critical questions.
So touching base at the community level, you do that in various languages, I guess?
Oh yes, of course. You can't go to the communities and be speaking English. Nobody will listen. It's those of us in Accra who speak a lot of English, but when you go down to the community level, you speak their local language.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very interesting, right? And now let's talk about accountability. It's often a problem, a challenge in implementing, environmental policy. How does this manifesto propose to ensure transparency and accountability in this, implementation process? How do you make sure that, we keep them accountable?
All right. So we, as a group, we have this plan of getting all the manifesto from the political parties when they are all done. Then we carve out the environmental components of this manifesto, of their manifesto, and draw a table and pick all the targets that they have put in their manifestos to achieve by the end of their tenure, and use that as a benchmark to assess and mark them by way of coming out with scorecards as to what they were able to achieve when they were in power regarding the environment component in their manifesto. So it becomes a regular thing we do. We don't do it at the end of their tenure. As they run we do it maybe every year. We come out with that
Okay.
scorecard to mark them, or something like that. So that's part of the strategy to keep people accountable. And as I said, we need to involve the media a lot in some of this to drum home the issues.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. So, in wrapping up, could you share your vision for the future of environmental sustainability in Ghana, and how you believe this manifesto will pave the way for achieving these goals?
Our vision is that we are able to see an improvement in the various sectors that we have seen. So, for example, when you take the forest sector, what is the status of our forest now? What are the manifestos saying, and what do we want to see maybe in the next 4 years?
Yeah.
I believe the Forestry Commission has the forest cover map of Ghana. Are we going to see a reduction in that forest cover, or an increase in that forest cover? What is their mandate? So we want them to live by their mandate. They are supposed to protect and enhance the forest cover of Ghana, but not to go back and put in policies that will encourage people to go and log and mine in our forest reserves.
Yeah.
So our vision is that we want to see sustainability in the sector. Our children should grow and also know what wildlife we have in our forest. That should not be found only in the zoos. Our kids are in Accra. Some of them have not even seen lizards before. How do we make sure lizards are also there in 10 years' time for our children to see? A case of the vulture. Formerly we have a lot of vulture. Vultures play a lot of a role in cleaning our environment and all that. It shouldn't only be in books, but we should still find our vultures across our towns and districts and show our children that this is what the vulture does. So it's about sustainability and leaving something for the future generations. Yeah.
Indeed, leaving something for the future generations. Thank you, Mr. Gokah, for telling us more about what this, Ghana Environmental Manifesto is all about and its objectives. Hopefully, this manifesto is embraced and serves as a blueprint or a roadmap in contributing to Ghana's, sustainability efforts.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a listener between the ages of 11 to 25 and got inspired to write, make a video, or take photographs of issue relating to environmental problems and solutions, or know someone that does, YRE has its annual competition out now. Please visit our website at cestint.com/YRE competition for further details. cestint.com/YRE competition for further details. Grab this opportunity to give the environment a voice. Who knows, you could be the next lucky winner.
So please tune in same time next week as we continue discussions on all things sustainable development right here on Asaase Radio 99.5, so that people and the planet can prosper. If you have any topic you want us to discuss, please share with us and shoot an email to sdg-hub@cestint.org. Remember, dear listeners, the future is in our hands, and it's our responsibility to ensure a healthier planet for generations to come. Keep raising your voices, keep advocating for change, and keep tuning into the SDG Hub for more insightful conversations. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay eco-conscious.
And that's a wrap on the SDG Hub. Thank you for staying here with us. We've been speaking with Mr. Jonathan Gokah, coordinator of Kasa Initiative Ghana. I've been your host, Kevin Annan, and I did this with my co-host,
Rosemary Balami.
We go back to Caleb.